Due to the massive amount of success I received from my previous video about dog games, I've decided it's once again time to look through the catalog and pick out a few dog games to review. If you don't know the spiel, dogs are all throughout gaming. Being man's best friend has its perks, like being a major selling point for the campaign of one of the worst Call of Duties, or being the main selling point behind Nintendo's greatest endeavors in video gaming. So amazing, in fact, that they haven't released one under the same name in 11 years because they're simply too scared of just how much they'll outperform their new games. Breath of the Wild 2, Super Mario Odyssey 2, Pikmin 4, absolutely nothing compared to the hype that'll be generated around a proper Switch release in the Nintendogs franchise, all stemming from the original release of Nintendogs Best Friends in the year 2005 for the original Fat DS. And then they released it 5 other times, one of which is entirely exclusive to Japan, who releases 6 different versions of the same. The real potential for this franchise really begins to shine when you realize that Nintendo did the Pokemon thing, but instead of Pokemon version differences, they instead decided to make the version differences actual dog breeds. Real ones, like me, played Dalmatian and Friends. See, you know this cartridge is mine because my mom signed it. Unfortunately, playing this cartridge meant I had to give up my access to popular dog breeds like the Husky, the Chihuahua. I hope you can all only imagine how I coped without being able to pick the Pug. Unfortunately, the biggest breed missing from Dalmatian and Friends is the Shiba Inu, which is an issue considering it's my entire brand. So when I streamed Nintendogs on Twitch, link in description, I was forced to play the Labrador and Friends version, which included the Shiba Inu as a default breed to pick when you start the game. You begin Nintendogs by being greeted with randomly generated dogs at the pound that you can choose to adopt. Considering none of these dogs were Shiba Inus, I left them to sit in the pound and instead chose to adopt my Shiba Inu named Nutfart by chat for $550. Once you name your dog and teach him a trick, you're let loose to spend your time with your dog doing whatever, really. Nintendogs as a game is kind of just the final evolution of a Tamagotchi experience. You hop on the game, do little chores to feed your dog, take them for a walk, give them a bath, and then you hop off, really. The most gameplay you get here, and by that I mean actually participating actively in a game mode that isn't just petting your dog constantly, are the competitions. You got disc competitions, agility trials, and obedience trials, all of which require a multitude of different interactions between you and your virtual dog using the top-of-the-line technology that the Nintendo DS could provide in the year 2005. Speaking of the Nintendo DS, mine isn't broken, but it has an issue where the screen is like slightly red for some reason. So here's my 3DS instead. I still have my original cartridge with all my actual old Nintendogs on it from the year 2008, and I'm going to open it up and look at it later in the video though, because we've been talking about Nintendogs for a little bit now, and I want to talk about Montaro instead. I'm going to be completely honest with everyone watching right now. These two games are just achievement bait. Now wait, that's not a bad thing. I'm just saying that I am not spending my time min-maxing my Montaro runs to figure out how I can get the max score on this shit. I completed the game in like 2 hours because I wanted to have the funny little Doge achievements, and that's just fine. The game is a fun little distraction for the time it takes to complete. You start up a run, dodge some birds, collect women's panties to regain your health when you get hit. Alright, you know what? I think it's time we move on. Anyway, Wobbledogs is another sort of dog raising simulator game, but instead of the focus being on raising your cutesy little puppies, you're instead trying to create genetic abominations you've built through generations of inbreeding to create the most fucked up looking dog that you can name Squiggle. I went into the game blind, and I found myself sinking quite a bit of time into caring for my little freaks of nature. I genuinely got a little sad when my first little dog that I complimented for bouncing and wobbling all over the place fucking died. It was sad, but that interaction hardened me. As more of my dogs passed away, I began to lose empathy for these beings I once considered my lovely little pets. As you might have noticed, you can feed your dogs a multitude of different foods, from nutritional pellets to burritos, fries, a chicken nugget, teeth, poop, dirt. All of these different foods you can feed your dog affect the genes of the dog and determine the amount that the dog mutates across different variations. Something you can also feed your dog is just straight up another dog. It's recycling and arguably good for the environment, but also great for mutating your dogs. You can reintroduce all of the previous dog's collected genes into the new dog and then further breed them to create wonderful little creatures. Also, just to mention it, I love the contrast between the cute dogs wobbling around and then them suddenly balling themselves up into a cocoon and bursting out of it in the most grotesque way imaginable. Really sets the mood hopping into the game. If you enjoy something like Animal Crossing, where a majority of the game is built around decorating a town and making it look pretty and interacting with all of your little villagers and their toy box-like setting, you'll enjoy Wobbledogs. You can get to a point where you're creating some insane hamster cage-like setups with a bunch of tubes all over the place leading to different habitats, all with their own unique experiments in them. With the amount of time I plan to sink into this game past this video, I think I made a good purchase for myself. Back to Nintendogs, I've set up my 3DS with my iPhone pointed to it because trying to get a 3DS with a capture card in the year 2022 is nearly impossible, so this is the best quality you get. Opening it up to see all my old pets with names of dogs that at one point used to be in my life was a little surreal, honestly. It was really comforting to know that in some way a dog that passed on many years ago still exists in a small way through this game. Nintendogs as a game is just one of those experiences where nearly everyone that owned a Nintendo DS back in the day might have played it, either through a friend or by buying the pink DS Lite bundle that came with Nintendogs. It was a game where many could cope with not having a dog by taking care of a little puppy whose soul is forever trapped within their DS for hours on end. Also, I think it's criminal to talk about Nintendogs without at least mentioning the soundtrack once. This shit is full of nostalgia and bangers all over the place, man. If you watched the previous video, you heard that soundtrack all throughout, and watching this video currently, you probably still hear the soundtrack. Giving your dog a bath has its own little theme, taking your dog on a walk, shopping for your dog is another addition to Nintendo's insane lineup of shopping themes that are weirdly good for no reason, and yelling at your dog because the bastard won't pick up the goddamn frisbee in time so we can get more points to beat the disc trial. These are all memories of a DS game that I will probably take with me to my grave. So if you don't mind, I'm going to go take my Nintendogs for a walk. If you enjoyed, consider subscribing and click on the first Dog Games video to get more dog game recommendations if that's your thing.